Interdimensional Thief. The air was thick with static as Dorian stepped through the portal, his coat flaring around him like the wings of a dark omen. Behind him, the tendrils of another universe's laws of physics retracted, closing the rift he'd torn through space-time. The gallery he entered was dimly lit, shadows stretching across the marbled floor. On the walls hung priceless artifacts, artworks, relics, and strange devices, stolen from the finest collections of countless realities. But Dorian's eyes were fixed on a single display case in the center of the room. He approached with a sense of finality, his gloved hands itching to unlock the mysteries before him. The object inside was unlike anything he'd ever seen. A small obsidian sphere, its surface swirling with faint, barely perceptible light. He didn't know which universe it came from or what it could do, but that was part of the thrill. It was something new, something powerful. He broke the glass and lifted the sphere. The moment his fingers touched it, a sharp pain lanced through his mind, and the room spun violently. He staggered, nearly dropping the object. Voices, countless, indistinct, whispered at the edges of his thoughts. He tried to let go, but his hand seemed fused to the object. Panic surged within him. A light flashed in the corner of his vision, and the agents appeared. The chase through the dimensions began the moment Dorian fled with the artifact. Each universe he jumped into became more chaotic, his movements more desperate. He had never been pursued like this before, by being so relentless, so uncannily aware of his every move. They weren't ordinary agents. They were something else, their eyes glowing with an unsettling calm, as if they knew something he didn't. Dorian could feel the power of the sphere growing. Every time he touched it, the voices grew louder, more coherent. It wasn't just an object, it was alive, and it wanted something. He could feel its hunger seeping into his thoughts, its pull stronger with each passing moment. He jumped into another universe, a place where the sky was a blood-red void, and the ground rippled like liquid glass. The agents followed him, their steps precise, unwavering. He couldn't keep this up much longer. The sphere in his hand pulsed, the light within it growing darker, almost as if it were feeding off the destruction left in his wake. What had he stolen? He found refuge in a dead universe, a place where nothing lived, not even the air. It was silent, cold, and dark. Dorian, panting, crouched low behind a shattered monument of some forgotten civilization. He needed time to think, time to understand what was happening. The sphere hovered in his hand now, no longer an object but a presence. It whispered to him, no longer in voices but in emotions. Desperation, anger, fear. It had been sealed, away for a reason, hidden in the most secure vault in all realities. And he, in his greed, had unleashed it. The agents had stopped chasing him. He could no longer feel their presence. But something else was coming, something far worse. The sphere began to change. Its surface rippled, the faint light within it turning into a blinding glow. Dorian tried to throw it away, but his body wouldn't obey. His mind was no longer his own. He could feel it now, the weight of the thing he had stolen. It wasn't just an artifact. It was the key to something far older than the multiverse itself, something that had been locked away to prevent exactly what was about to happen. His vision blurred, the world around him bending. He could see the edges of reality unraveling, universes colliding and folding into each other like paper being crumpled. And then he understood. The object wasn't just a weapon. It was a seed that would grow until every universe, every reality was consumed. The agents arrived in time to see the end begin. Dorian stood at the center of the storm, the sphere floating above him, a black sun devouring the multiverse. The agents, once so confident in their mission, were now powerless. They could do nothing but watch, as the walls of existence themselves began to collapse. Dorian screamed, not in fear or pain, but in pure, unadulterated rage. He hadn't wanted this. He hadn't known. But it was too late. The object had chosen him, and through him, it would end everything. The agents tried one last, desperate attempt to reverse the process, but the power of the sphere overwhelmed them. Their forms disintegrated, pulled apart by the collapsing dimensions. Dorian, in his final moments, saw a brief flicker of what lay beyond. A place where there was no time, no space, no life, just endless, infinite nothingness. The ground beneath Dorian's feet began to crack, the fabric of the universe itself splitting open like fragile glass. Deep, reverberating pulses echoed through the void as the multiverse buckled under the weight of the sphere's influence. The stars in the distant sky flickered out one by one, as if snuffed by some unseen hand. Waves of distortion rippled across the horizon, warping the once familiar landscapes into grotesque, unrecognizable shapes. Mountains folded in on themselves, oceans boiled into the sky, and cities crumbled into ash. He stood frozen in place, the weight of his actions crushing him more than the sphere ever could. His body felt like a mere fragment of the chaos surrounding him, his mind on the verge of snapping. The air shimmered with a low hum, vibrating with the force of 1,000 collapsing realities. The sphere, now glowing brighter than ever, pulsed like a heartbeat, in rhythm with the destruction it wrought. It consumed not only the physical world but the essence of every timeline, erasing the very concept of existence itself. Dorian's eyes, wide with terror and regret, darted to the sky, watching as the once familiar constellations twisted into grotesque spirals of light. The horizon bled into the void, and the boundaries between universes dissolved into a swirling maelstrom of color and darkness. The agents were gone now, their existence erased from every reality they had ever touched. The last shreds of their presence were nothing more than distant echoes, lost in the storm of oblivion. Dorian could feel his consciousness slipping, merging with the infinite void that surrounded him. His body, now barely a silhouette against the collapsing world, began to fade. In that final moment, as his form dissolved into the void, Dorian felt a single fleeting emotion, the deepest, most profound loneliness he had ever known. The universe in all its vastness was gone, and he was the last to witness its end. A blinding flash, then silence. The dark emptiness stretched on, unbroken and eternal.